So, Shekhar, what are the careers of the future, and what is it that you see happening? How do people stay relevant? How do they stay, well, if not employed, how do they stay busy and earn a living?
No, somewhere I got a sneaky feeling in the first part when you referred to CP as an optimist that you were putting me in a different bucket. Let me assure you that while I am an optimist, I'm not a blind optimist. So I prefer to figure out what's happening and then look at that. So the point I was making is that, while all this is happening, there are new kinds of jobs coming up. There are new kinds of skills which make the current jobs also an opportunity for many young people. And, just within the IT industry, we had looked at what are some of the new technology areas, what are some of the new jobs which are coming up, which may not have existed, let's say, 3 or 4 years ago. And we identified 8 technology areas, areas like data analytics, IoT, artificial intelligence, robotics, so things like that. And 55 job roles which map onto these 8 technologies. So that gives you a sense of people who are in the industry today, which are the kind of skills which they need to be acquiring to stay relevant and to get the new kind of jobs which are coming up. So I do believe that while manufacturing is getting automated in a way that is actually reducing the number of jobs, in the services sector, there are new kinds of jobs coming up. Of course, there is a debate today about whether for the first time in the history of technology, whether technology is actually destroying more jobs than it is creating. That debate will go on for some time, I'm sure. But there's no doubt that new kinds of jobs are getting created. Let's take just one example by way of illustration. If you look at the Indian economy, it's a well-known thing that a large percentage, the majority of our population lives in rural areas, and we are still, at the end of the day, largely an agricultural economy. And it's also known that our productivity is very low, that our wastage is very high, and the growth in productivity is extremely low. And many of these technologies are looked at as some fancy technologies which happen in one part of the economy, and this has nothing to do with the real India or with Bharat. But the fact is that the potential of applying these technologies in a sector like agriculture, for example, using drone technology, using IoT, ensuring optimization of inputs, ensuring minimization of loss in the farm to table chain. All of these are areas where these technologies have tremendous potential, and they will add to rural incomes, rural wealth, all of which will fuel the economy. The thing, however, is that it's not going to happen automatically. Just the fact that these technologies are there and they have a relevance doesn't mean that they will get applied. What's missing is the innovation, both from a business point of view as well as from a technology point of view, which looks at the technology, tweaks it, looks at the business models, applies it, and creates services which provide this. So, for example, in some of even the developed countries, one of the big jobs is drone operator. Imagine if you're using drones pervasively in the agriculture sector, you're going to need a lot of such people. If you're using IoT in looking at optimization of inputs, then the kind of data which is generated and how you relate it to all of the things that I talked about will create a new set of jobs. So all of these are areas where we should be looking at these areas and looking at how we create on one side the entrepreneurs and the businesses which lead to services which apply these technologies, and what are the jobs which are getting created.